Okay, so here we are, up close again. For those of you who missed the morning stream, we started here this morning. This is That's All Brother. This is one of the 36 C-47s or DC-3s that's slated to be here for the 75th anniversary remembrance of D-Day. That's All Brother is a unique plane in that it was the first aircraft, specific plane to fly on D-Day, to fly a mission. And the interesting story behind this particular plane is, despite that history, for a lot of different reasons, it ended up in a boneyard, which is essentially the aircraft equivalent of a graveyard, in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And somebody took a look at the serial number on the aircraft, looked it up like you can do, and realized that this was such an important airplane. Long story short, they got enough donors, enough people interested to refurbish the plane and essentially rebuild it. And so in a lot of ways, this is like a brand new DC-3, a brand new C-47. We talked with one of the pilots off camera this morning, and he said essentially she's brand new. That's how she was rebuilt. So that makes her really, really unique in this sense. She'll eventually fly back, and she belongs to the Oshkosh Museum and Flight. I think Commemorative Air Force owns her. So that's the story here. And so what's happening now is DC-3 Girls set up a chance for us to talk with one of the pilots, Doc. And Doss is over there making sure that happens. Looks like they're talking with some other people over there. And looks like he's bringing them over here. So anyway, so this is cool. This is one of the things that we get excited about, being able to do these virtual field trips, because we get to get you to talk to people and go to places that we couldn't otherwise.
YouTube type deal, or? Not quite, yeah, not YouTube, but it's a different sort of.
It's close. There's several thousand people watching right now.
Yeah.
So
this is live?
This is live.
Yeah,
it's
go ahead.
Live. Look at me. Hi, I'm JDK.
JD?
Nice to meet you.
JDK.
Well, yeah, but call me JD, that's
All
fine.
right.
That's
I'm
fine.
Doug Rosendahl, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. We talked with Tom Travis this morning.
Yeah.
And
Tom and I flew across together.
yeah, I know. Yeah, he told us the story. He showed us some great video and stuff like that. And so we've just been covering a little bit of the history of this airplane, not just where it was found a few years ago and everything that went in with that, but what it did on D-Day, kind of literally leading the charge that day. So if you wouldn't mind, for the readers or viewers, if you would just tell us a little bit about what you think is so special about this aircraft, what got you interested in it, and what you do other than flying it. What part do you have in all of it?
So in 1986, I was driving home from work one day and drove by the airport, and there was a DC-3 sitting there, and I was a private pilot with about 700-800 hours total time and an instrument rating. And I slammed on the brakes and turned into the airport, walked into the airport cafe, and there, obviously surrounded by all the airport bums, were the flight crew. And met them, got to know them, started riding along. The airplane came to town to establish FedEx overnight service to our town. So met them, got to know them, started riding along, humping freight. You know, you got to carry 7,000 pounds of freight up the hill and stack it in such a way that it doesn't make an avalanche.
Right.
Before you get the nets on and during takeoff. And the owner, one of the owners of the airline, was flying it, and he said, you know, if you had a multi-engine rating commercial, we'd check you out as a co-pilot.
Oh, man.
6 weeks later, I was flying co-pilot on a DC-3. So that was 1986, the 50th anniversary of the C-47 DC-3. Mm-hmm. And that was my first job in aviation. I've been flying them off and on pretty steady ever since. Always as a part-time job. I've never flown full-time professionally. Uh-huh. And about 20 years ago, a friend of mine bought a DC-3 and called me up and said, hey, guess what? I bought a DC-3. Teach me to fly it. So I trained him, got him a type rating, flew it together with him. He called me up one day and he said, why don't you buy my airplane? Well, I don't have a place to put it. I can't afford it. He said, yeah, I knew that. And he said, well, I'm going to sell it to Basler, so why don't you come down to Arizona and fly up to Basler with me? Well, it turns out it's this airplane.
Oh, wow.
So he and I flew it into Basler, and 10 years later, after the restoration, I got to do the first flight on it.
Oh, wow.
So I've got a lot of history with the DC-3 and a lot of history with this airplane.
With this particular plane. Wow. Okay, so how many flight hours do you have in a C-47 DC-3?
So I don't keep track.
Okay.
Somewhere between 500 and 1,000.
Oh, wow.
Not a tremendous amount, but I've been flying them steady. I fly B-25, a lot of other airplanes.
Oh, okay. How many are you checked out in?
That just make people mad. I'm one of those guys that everybody hates.
Oh, because you get to fly all the time? Okay, so what makes flying this plane different maybe from some of the other ones? Is it an easier plane to fly? Is it kind of intuitive? How would you describe the experience of flying it?
Well, people ask me all the time, what's your favorite airplane? And I always answer that question with whichever one I'm flying. But I like this one really a lot.
Okay.
I think the thing about the DC-3 is it has an incredible amount of personality.
Personality, okay.
And if you, it will do anything you want it to do if you ask it politely. But if you start pushing and pulling and fighting with the airplane, it'll fight back.
Okay.
And it's just all about coming to terms with the airplane, having a lot of anticipation. It only goes 140 mile an hour, but you got to be 5 miles ahead of it all the time.
Oh, wow.
And as long as you're thinking farther ahead than the airplane is, you're in great shape.
Okay.
If you start getting behind the airplane, it gets more difficult. But all in all, it's a magnificent flying airplane. I mean, you slide the window back, you hang your elbow out, and you just sit, on the way over here. We were sitting there in the airplane, flying along, following the magenta line to Narsarsuaq.
Oh, yeah.
And, yes, we followed their route, and yes, we flew the same airplane they flew, but what we did had nothing in common with what 19-year-old kids did 75 years ago.
Right.
Between Tom and I and our co-pilots, we had over 50,000 hours of flight experience in the cockpit.
Wow.
We had incredibly accurate computer weather models.
Right, which they
told
didn't
us
have.
Exactly where the clouds were going to be and where the ice was going to be, and more importantly, where it wasn't going to be.
Right.
Which is where we were at. And real-time forecasts, satellite communicators, so we could text one of our buddies at home and get updated weather at the destination if we wanted it. And most importantly, we had there's probably 8 or 10 GPSs in this airplane.
Right.
And everybody's got one in their iPad and several satellite trackers and, anything short of an EMP. We had a magenta line leading us up the correct fjord into Narsarsuaq.
Right.
And we knew exactly what the weather was going to be when we left. And we knew what it was, when we were 2 hours out, where it was an easy divert to Sandstrom if we needed to do it. Mm-hmm. Just took all the belly acid out of the trip, and it was just as simple as flying from Dallas to Des Moines.
Right, because of modern technology.
That was not what flying a C-47 across the North Atlantic in the wintertime would have been like 75 years ago.
Right, and my understanding is that how did you pronounce that? Narsarsuaq. If you choose the wrong fjord, you're done. You're done. Yeah, and back then...
We had great weather. We were able to fly up and top and look, and 20 miles out, we could see it. It was...
How long of a haul flight hours was it from? Because you guys flew from Oshkosh, right?
No, we started in, we started in San Marcos, Texas, where the airplane's based.
Okay.
And then we toured, Birmingham, Atlanta, Washington, D.C. for the Andrews Air Show. And then we ended up in Oxford, where 9 of these airplanes got together, and we started flying together to get to know each other. And we did survival training, inflated a raft.
Wow.
Put on poopy suits. Several people got in the water and climbed in the raft.
Wow.
We took it pretty serious.
Yeah.
And flew together to get to know the other pilots and what their capabilities were and who needed to be flying where, and just to shake down the airplanes, and then we pressed out from there. So from Oxford, Connecticut to Prestwick, Scotland was about 28 or 27 or 28 hours. I believe.
And how many stops along the way?
So Oxford, Presque Isle, Maine.
Right.
Goose Bay, Newfoundland, Narsarsuaq, Greenland, Reykjavik, Iceland, and Prestwick, Scotland.
Okay. The old ferry route.
Yeah, and then the old Blue Spruce route, just like they did.
Yep.
This airplane actually went across. It went up to Canada somewhere, and then went to the Azores and across with ferry tanks.
Okay.
When it went across in '44.
Okay.
We took the northern route.
Wow. Well, what's great about that story is that it's not like you guys just decided we're going to fly to England for this. It took a lot of preparation. How long ago did you guys start prepping to come over here for this event?
Well, we started prepping for this trip when we bought the airplane almost 4 years ago. I mean, that was the ultimate goal from the get-go.
From the get-go, okay.
To get this airplane back here for the 75th.
Okay. Wow. How's it been so far?
Again, it was like flying from Dallas to Des Moines. It was a very, very easy trip. I mean, the airplane's brand new. It's been totally, through a zero time at Basler for all intents and purposes.
Right.
75 years from now, this airplane, there's no reason why this airplane won't still be flying.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Is there anything coming up that you're looking forward to the most?
having the airplane back in the United States in one piece.
In one piece, yeah.
One piece.
Yeah, probably a little bit of anxiety the entire time it's here.
Well, it's just, we're a long ways from home, and fixing things here would be a lot more difficult and a lot more expensive. And we didn't take the crossing lightly, nor should we.
Right.
And it's still. I'm not flying the airplane back. That's currently not the plan. And I did. I flew over, and we're rotating crews through. From a personal perspective, flying an old airplane across the North Atlantic has been something I thought would be, a neat experience for a long time, and I checked that box.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of cool things in airplanes. I flew over Doolittle's burial at Arlington.
Wow.
I flew in the Missing Man flight at the Arsenal Democracy on the D.C. Mall in 2015.
Wow.
But if we get to fly this airplane over the American Cemetery on D-Day, that's, from a personal perspective, that's a really big deal. But I think the most important thing about this flight is CBS Sunday Morning did a story on it. USA did a story on it. New York Times has done a story on it. We are really raising the awareness of the reason why we live free in America at a higher level than I've seen in the mainstream press for a long time. It's trite but true that the lessons we forget we're bound to relearn.
Right.
And the greatest, we all say we fly these airplanes to honor the greatest generation. Well, the best way that we can honor that generation is by making sure their sacrifice was not in vain.
Correct.
And if we allow the lessons that we learned in World War II to be forgotten, then that is a terrible travesty. And every time we cede one of our freedoms in the interest of safety or whatever, we diminish the value of that sacrifice and those lives that were lost 75 years ago fighting the World War against tyranny.
Right. And an event, an activity like what happened that day coming up 75 years ago casts it in really sharp relief, because you had, as I've told our viewers several times today, everybody knew this event was coming, this invasion. Everybody did. It was only a question of where it was going to happen, when it was going to happen, and what the result would be. So what comes into you?
I'd like to correct one thing.
Okay.
It wasn't an invasion.
Okay.
It was a liberation.
A liberation. I'll take that.
The only thing we took was a place to bury our dead.
Right.
We went to France to liberate France, not to invade it.
Right.
So I think we ought to call them liberation stripes.
Liberation stripes. Okay, rather than invasion stripes. Okay. Well, we can adopt that. Liberation.
That's a good point. We'll start using that the rest of
Liberation stripes. We'll adopt that. So, yeah. Are there any questions anybody has that we can?
You were actually answering most questions in real time as people were asking.
Yeah, people are
what do you
asking us
about the
questions.
plane and stuff like that. I think you've actually answered everything that people asked in advance.
Cool.
So you've done this before.
You clearly have. Clearly have. Great.
First rodeo.
Your first one, yeah, apparently. Well, thank you so much. We know you've had such a huge busy day and you got much more going on. So you're flying a couple more times today?
I think three.
Three more?
Times it'll be four. So we started with a briefing at 8, and we'll probably put the airplane to bed at 8 o'clock tonight.
Wow.
So it's a long day.
Now, are those all accreditation flights, or what's the purpose
Next
of flying?
flight is our we got 2 accreditation flights to do.
Okay.
One is the paradrop accreditation, and then another is a display authorization for those of us that are flying Vic in the formation.
Okay.
And then we are doing a practice flight for the cemetery flyover. So we're going to put those 12 airplanes together and go out and practice the timing.
Okay.
And come across here with the 12 ship.
Okay.
Like we're planning on June 6th, and then we may not participate in the last. There may be one more training sortie after that.
Okay. It's a busy day.
It's been I've been on the road. Is today Monday?
Today's Monday.
I think it is.
So
Yeah.
Wednesday I'll have been on the road for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And basically had 2 days off. So
Wow.
it's a high pace. It's just been an incredible experience.
I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. So we're having an incredible experience just watching it and talking with people. Can't imagine what it must be like to be behind it, which is why we really appreciate you talking with us.
Right. Well,
So,
you're most welcome.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. Nice to meet you.
You bet, you too.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
Doug, thank you so much for the time as well. I'm going to share some stuff that people said. They said thank you so much for your time today.
Is there a way to get to it?
So we can send you a link to the video. Absolutely. There's people watching right now, and I can actually get you a link to where you can watch it. But just, I wanted to say from everybody at chat, you've probably forgot more about airplanes than anybody will ever know.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
My pleasure.
So chat, y'all know what to do. Show some love for Doug here, who's one of the pilots for That's All Brother, who will be flying again here shortly. We'll see her spool up and take off, but seriously, put some love in chat for Doug. That's just so I call him chats, because it's a different sort of thing, right? But we really appreciate you, Doug.
Yeah,
cut you loose.
Thanks.
All right.
Appreciate it. Have a good day.
God.
All right. Thanks.
So we're going to, y'all, yeah, don't look at me, look at the plane. We are going to go ahead and step back over. This flight, I think he said, was delayed until about 13:30.
Yeah.
And so that is about 20 minutes from now, 21 minutes. We will step away while they're spooling up the plane and stuff like that. We are not going to be here, right? We'll be over on the safety of the flight line. In fact, we might go post up in that corner right there.
Yeah, it might be good.
See what we can do.
Yeah.
And then we'll see this pick up. Now, here's something I want, right? Saber, get the window up there right quick. Because Doug said that when they're taking off, he's like, you just sort of hang your arm out the window, and it's like driving a car on a nice day. It's certainly a nice day out here. I want to see if when we see That's All Brother taxiing, if we can see somebody hanging their arm out of one of those windows. So be looking for that later, chat.
How cool would that be? To say, like you're driving a 65
It's just like a Monday afternoon cruise here in the English countryside, but you're flying literally the first plane that crossed the channel in the D-Day invasion.
That's right. I should tell everybody as well, that sound of an aircraft overhead you heard towards the end of that interview was a P-51 Mustang.
Yeah.
In the Liberation Stripes.
The Liberation Stripes, I like it.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and call it that from now on.
Liberation Stripes.
Because that was actually something that was really stressed by soldiers at the time. Actually, he had a good point there. That they were landing on those beaches to liberate those countries, not to conquer them.
Right.
So. And he waved to us. He was waving his wings.
Oh yeah.
That's like the
aircraft
version of waving.
He was waggling. The wing waggle.
Yeah, the wing waggle.
Yeah. So, all right. But here's the deal. Should we talk to another crew member?
We can talk to another crew member.
They're still standing by, and we still have about 20 minutes. So I asked them, should we be clearing out right now? And they said, nah, get another crew member. So I'm going to bring another crew member back over here, and we can talk to somebody else.
Sounds good.
All right. I'll come in and introduce them.
Sure. All right, here we go. What do we got?
So, Chad, we've got another special guest here. We've got Doc.
Hi, Chad. How are you? My name is Doc Hecker. I'm out of San Antonio, Texas, and I'm one of the pilots on the airplane. I'll be the co-pilot today.
Today, for the next flight?
For the next flight.
So we only have a couple minutes.
Right, we do. So what can I answer for you?
Whatever you want. There's not even any specific questions.
Have we spoken about this airplane at all? Do you have any of the history?
We have.
We've got a little bit of it.
Okay,
we talked with Tom Travis this morning, and he gave us some stuff. But whatever you'd like to share about the plane would be great.
Well, the plane came out of restoration in February of last year, and I was part of the crew that flew it back. It was in restoration for 2.5 years. About 75% of the airplane has been restored.
Wow.
So it's almost a remanufactured airplane.
Wow.
Engines were rebuilt at that time, propellers were rebuilt. This was the big Super Duty pickup truck of World War II.
Super Duty pickup truck.
It basically did whatever job needed to be hauled. Men, supplies, goats, farm animals.
Jeeps, I
engine
think?
parts, Jeeps, howitzers. If you needed something hauled, this was the heavy hauler. The equivalent of it today is the C-130 Hercules that you guys probably have heard about.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But this is the great-great-granddaddy of that airplane.
Mm-hmm.
It started out as a commercial airliner in design in 1935. The military was so impressed with it, they basically took over the production and they beefed up certain things for the heavy cargo hauling, and they built what they called the C-47A, Cargo-Model 47-Model A. And they built about 12,000 of these at 3 or 4 factories around the United States, and quite a few of these are still in existence. And some of them have even been converted into turboprop airplanes.
Oh, wow.
By conversion companies. The company that rebuilt this airplane for us actually is the premier turbo conversion DC-3 operator in the country.
So why do they convert them to turboprop? That's more
this
efficient,
airplane
or
can land anywhere.
Okay.
And the engines are better. They're stronger. They last longer. They're run by jet engines with propellers on.
Right.
That's what a turboprop is.
Right.
You don't have the 1931 technology of the radial piston engines.
Gotcha.
So it's a more modern design. They lengthen the fuselage by 30 inches so it can carry more cargo, but this thing can travel anywhere in the world and land almost anywhere.
That's the crazy thing we've been seeing are the big bulbous tires on the bottom of it. It looks like you can land in an airfield, literally a field.
Well, we did land in the field. It's right here. You can land on the grass right here and we'd be absolutely no problem. So.
So on the flight here, what are y'all doing on the next flight? Are you checking something out, or?
Now we're gonna go up and we're gonna take 6 airplanes up and we're gonna do three in V's.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, and we're gonna practice formation flying.
So this is like a practice,
Yeah, it's a
just
practice run.
crews that haven't necessarily flown together before, I guess.
Right, get them kind of fleshed out, more comfortable flying with one another, and just kind of tune up, so to speak, their pilot skills.
Okay. How do you, like, when you're in formation, how do you do that? Is you just look at the other plane
we're
and
gonna be the lead.
you'll be the lead?
We're gonna set the speed, we're gonna set the height, and then everybody has to tuck in with us.
Okay.
So we kind of control it, and then we kind of hope that they just, if I'm here, they just hope they just slide in right here.
Is it an interactive sort of thing? Are you on the radio with them,
We're on
telling
the
like, back
radio,
off?
But generally, we do not try to talk.
Okay.
Unless we see something, and then we'll say, loosen it up or whatever. We're looking out the windows at this.
Gotcha.
And then we're going to have a group of 3, and then there's going to be another group of 3 that kind of slides in behind us.
Gotcha. But it's not like a micromanaging thing where like, move 10 feet to the left or
we,
anything.
we do try to just keep the talking to a minimum because there's a lot of concentration. These are big pieces of equipment. They're close to one another, and you sometimes they touch, and you just don't want that to happen.
You don't want them to touch.
Never good.
Is this Julie right over
This
there?
is.
She is right here.
This
yeah.
is.
Hello. How are you? And do you know Gene Rossetti?
I don't
I
think
said it
so.
was like
Some people.
camps.
Oh,
Maybe
is that right? Hi, Doug. How are you? What
He's
are you
with the
flying?
Historic Flight Foundation, John
Okay.
Sessions.
All right. Okay.
I'm a CAF guy as well.
Okay, very good. Yeah.
So, Doug, this is Gene.
Hey, Gene.
So
Nice to meet you as well.
Gene and I told him I followed him here. Gene and I actually worked together at the Museum of Flight, but more importantly, Gene flew for Northwest
Yes.
with my dad.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
So
they
there's
were.
a connection.
Yes, so
there
there's
for
the
you.
connection there, and he likes DC-3s. Gene is most famous in my family for being the person that allowed me to once start the DC-2. Best day of my life.
DC-2.
DC-2 at the Museum of Flight.
So that's a very interesting airplane. It was
Yes,
the
it is.
predecessor of this one, obviously. A little more tricky to fly.
Yes,
So.
and the nose-up attitude in that is amazing. You walk into one.
Yeah,
and
it's a shorter, it's a little more short
2 feet.
coupled. And there's a book called Figures the Hunter, and they talk about
Yes.
DC-2.
Yep.
You need to read that book, and it'll give you a little background on,
Absolutely.
on how tricky that was. They actually put the new pilots on that to prove them, or wash them out.
Wash them out.
But if
Whichever
they
one
can
works.
handle that airplane, the DC-3
Yeah.
was the catch.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
What was the name of the book?
Fate is the Hunter.
Fate is the Hunter.
Yes.
Somebody get a link to that and put it in chat.
Yes,
Fate
it's a
is the Hunter.
1954 book, but it's a classic.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
Yep.
You can direct them to do stuff, and they'll find it online and put a link
Before
up.
you
And
finish
yeah,
the thought, they'll tell you.
Right.
Gene has flown both the DC-2 and the DC-3.
Excellent. Well, there's not very many twos left in it.
No, that's
so.
the only one, and now it's in the museum.
And it
in
has
the
right
pavilion.
engines on it also.
It has
the
1820
the
rights.
1820
Yep.
rights, yeah. So we have the Pratt & Whitney 1830s.
Right. Which the PBY gentleman pointed out to me was the one thing that these planes have in common with the PBYs.
And the
They both have-
and the B-24.
than Pratt and Whitney's. But he was saying he was trying to
Correct. They
explain
have
why
the
the
same- they
PBY
have
was
the
here.
same
He's like,
engine. This was a very popular, robust engine in
Yeah,
World War II. There
absolutely.
were just thousands, literally thousands of the engines made. They're still being rebuilt. There's parts still available. As the Wrights are too. I've flown the B-17, so that has the Wright 1820 engine. Same engine. This is double row, 14. The Wright has 9. So
Oh, okay.
Single row now.
Single row, okay.
So big, giant pistons.
wow.
Okay, does that help you guys out?
Absolutely.
That was
No,
awesome.
I'm just
Really.
keeping my mouth shut over here, listening to the people who know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.